Welcome to Behind the Deal, where we'll be exploring unscripted, candid, first-hand experiences about the wild successes and cautionary tales of professional investors, founders, consultants, and advisors as they share their stories in deal making. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Deal, where we are exploring the stories and experiences that happen in deal making. Today, I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Dan Olsen. Dan, thank you for being with us today. I see, I'll touch a little bit on your background here. You did some time at Eisner Amper, as well as BBWD, and now you're a director at Now CFO. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been working on.
So I am a CPA. I've been working on, grew up as an auditor and then gradually went into mergers and acquisitions where I was corporate development for many years. And then I went into consulting roles, as you kind of mentioned before. I've done completed about 300 deals and then probably looked at 3,000 different companies, which we didn't kind of go through for one reason or another. And now I'm doing a lot of the CFO type work where we help companies get ready to be sold, or after they're sold, like the first 100 days, set them up with a proper integration plan, a budgeting process, and just basically get them lifted off the ground for success.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. Tell me a story.
A story. The first story that comes out in my mind is a story. It happened years ago. And this is during a time where, like now, people are working remotely, but we had to be in the field. And this was a pretty intense project. So weeks at a time, we're out of town.
Okay.
And so this was a medical supply company, and their PE shop engaged us to come in and do buy-side diligence. And we walk in the door, and I'll say this, like, he knew the financials were messed up because, the biggest part of their balance sheet was the inventory. And then we started asking support behind the inventory, the schedules, and that's when we knew we were in trouble because he says, I don't have any schedules. I don't have any agings. And we're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get through this? And so he introduces me to the office manager, who is his wife. And then I met his mom. I think it was either his mom or grandma that was the bookkeeper. And, it's just like, okay, now I'm understanding why the financials aren't necessarily set up correctly.
It was definitely small.
Yeah. And he's he was a big go-getter too. You could just he was very aggressive. He was nice to us though. I mean, he wasn't trying to bully us or anything. And, we took talking about inventory, and it was he could never give us a good answer on. He's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And like, all right, we're going to have to count. We're going to have to do a whole lot of work. And so I noticed that this is all, I'm kind of building up to a story here. So he has a lot of client relationship representatives. And when they would come in, and it was basically they would come in scrubs because they were selling to hospitals, and they're very attractive women, almost models.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And so we started digging more in the financials, and it's a consolidated entity. So there was two entities. One was so much larger than the other one. And then I noticed that the smaller one didn't have any revenue going through. And I'm like, okay, is a separate legal entity because they're selling to governmental entities? You have a separate permit of some type, or some type of designation that you don't have to have for the other bigger one. And I kept asking him about it. He goes, no, we have it set up this way for tax purposes. And I'm like, okay, so who are these people on the payroll? I'm like, I don't understand who they are, what they do, because you have over 100 people over here. What are these other 30 people? And, he says, they do some odds and ends stuff. And I'm like, well, I kind of need to know this because the private equity group that's looking at you needs to know what they do. I mean, and I need to validate exactly what this salary is.
Is this like based on their titles, or like what are they wanting to probably know what they do day to
Yeah.
day?
Well, one of the procedures we do is obviously we tie out salary expense, like to
Right.
the payroll registers. And then you kind of look through it and you go, okay, so what do they do? And then we try to figure out maybe some low hanging fruit, like, hey, look, there's a good synergy here. But I just didn't understand it. And he wasn't giving me a good enough answer. So I started just drilling into it. And
Mhm.
when our skepticism goes high, it's over, because I'm not going to give up on this. And he figured it out and he shut the door. And I just remember this. It shut the door and he got real quiet. And he says, look, I'll talk to you about it. But he said it in different words, but he said, well, they don't exactly work here. And I'm like, well, what do they do? And he says, well, these are my girls. I said, okay.
Okay. Okay.
I said, I see. So you're telling me that this is expense that will not go forward? And he goes, correct. Then I have to deal with, is that really true?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Man.
I'm not going to give you an ad back just to give you an ad back. And so we had to do some research on it. And it was, you had to tell the private equity group about it. You know what? It was such a good company. They didn't care.
Really? Man, I was gonna say, like, how do they react to this? Like, I need to know this.
I was very surprised. I thought,
Wow. What?
I just found a gold mine here or something and helped them save money. And, I was young at the time and I was like all proud of myself. And
This is in medical sales?
yeah, it was medical supplies
Medical supplies. Okay.
that were used in surgeries. And I still couldn't get over it, but they really wanted this company.
Like, what did he ever get, down to what did they actually sell at all? Any of the supplies?
They eventually, no, he was really at the top line revenue. It was, I can't remember exactly the figures, but he was growing very rapidly. And we did a lot of testing on the sales and we figured out like, they're legit, but we just couldn't figure out what the margin was. The gross margin, we had no idea because he couldn't figure out inventory.
Well, I was gonna ask, where did the staff the staff of women come into play exactly? Were they salespeople or what was?
They were salespeople.
Okay.
It was just an interesting environment. Like the chief of sales was a big bodybuilder. He had all the protein powders and supplements all on the wall, and it was a very I could say is a very collegiate type environment.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
With little to no policy or ethic or anything like that.
I see. So they're basically their sales force were a lot of pretty women.
Yes.
Wow.
And that, again, I mentioned this before that I met his wife and his mom.
Ah, yes, back to that. They were doing the admin. Interesting. Did they ever did you ever happen to get down to like why or how they came to build this sales force?
Well, we didn't really question that aspect of it, but we brought our comments up to the private equity group to talk. They did their own set of diligence on that, but it was I don't know, it was very interesting.
That is pretty impressive that they were just like, you know what, we're going to keep rolling with it because I mean, obviously it was working. So
right.
I mean, working enough to pass the smell test for PE. I mean, they spook pretty easily.
Yeah.
So, wow.
This guy was a head supplier. There was also, I remember this. There was a big court case, or they were under. They're being looked at by the American Medical Association for potentially same group,
same company.
Yeah,
same group.
They were paying off a doctor to use their supplies.
Yeah.
which is a big no-no. And
Not entirely unheard of, but yeah, that's
but it was definitely in the news too, though. But they're still looking at them, and I'm
okay.
like, oh my gosh, okay.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Like, did it impact at all on like the deal itself? I mean, obviously it went forward, but I'm like, did they, was there
I
any impact on
they
maybe the
so
valuation or
My client didn't buy them,
okay.
but
What do you mean? Like they didn't believe it or didn't buy the
no,
company?
sorry, yeah, they didn't execute the deal. So what they did is they left. They walked away, and I think another group came in and bought them a couple years later.
Wait, did the PE firm didn't move forward with them or?
Yeah, it's correct. The one I was
Okay.
working for.
Oh, okay. I thought they had moved forward with it anyway.
No, but I think it wasn't for the reason that we talked about, but it was something else. It was.
Wow. That is amazing.
It's
I mean,
if you're set on things, you just forget. You put blinders on and just keep going.
yeah, I guess so. I mean, and like I said, I guess if you've got a strong enough business model with recurring cash flow, I mean, you can afford to look past some things.
Oh yeah,
Man, that that is quite a story. I'm sure there's more in there. Like
yeah, there is.
a lot of other questions.
If anybody wants to reach out, DM me on LinkedIn, and I'll give you
For
the
sure.
the full throttle story.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
There is another story I have. The Northeast is a check cashing company. It was a very good operation. The private equity group was very happy with it, and they wanted to buy it. And you got me. I'm still a young guy. I go to the balance sheet and I go, man, what is this odd debit sitting in your liabilities? And I'm like, I don't know what it is. And I get a little song and dance, and I'm like, no, what is it? And he kept trying to make excuses, and I'm like, you could tell I was not going away. And
How much was it for?
huh?
How much
It
was
was
the
like
amount?
200,000-300,000. It just
Okay.
looked really strange. I can't remember the size of the company, but that was like something that kind of stood out. And
Yeah.
I said, well, why isn't it an asset? Reclass. And go, yeah, we probably should reclass it. I'm like, really? I said, okay. And then again, the classic, why don't you come in my office? I got to talk to you about it. And we went in there, and
The pattern
I
emerging.
didn't get quite the same story as the other guy. It was a little different. He goes, here, let me show you. And he gets over his computer, and it literally was a plug from another set of books.
What do you mean?
So in other words, they were cooking it. He took the net balance of the assets and liabilities for these other set of books and then booked it in there. And the other side of it was revenue.
Wow. Oh man.
I'm like, how do I rank this up?
Yeah, this is why you want to do that Q of E, right?
Yeah, this is a great example.
Why every buyer is complaining, even right now for sure. This has been like I've interviewed a couple dozen folks this year, and everyone says the same thing first. It's like when I ask them, hey, are there any red flags that are killing deals? It's always that's the first one is their financials. There's always something.
We went through it. I talked to people, and believe it or not, obviously that's like there's a whole lot of issues with that, right? I mean, you're defrauding the government, you're doing other things. There was another part of it that I thought was funny too. I went through the fixed asset register, and this is my favorite fixed asset register ever. Normally this is very boring. Machines, chairs, furniture, whatever. And then I get to the cars, and they have a company-owned Porsche, Lamborghini, Ferrari.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It was great. Some supercars on the balance sheet.
It is. They're on the balance sheet, and I made sure, like, well, are these coming with the deal? They go, no, probably not. I said, okay. And the background on this too is, so we're dealing with the check cashing industry, and I would
Oh
bet
boy.
money that this thing was implicated in.
Yep, that's where my mind went immediately when you reminded me of that. It was a check
I
cashing
was a
company.
little. It's like, do I bring this up, or I'm going to tell somebody
Yeah,
else, and then they can take care of it.
yeah, yeah. See, I mean, this probably goes. I don't know if I'm not an accountant, but like I feel like this might go outside the scope of like the audit. I don't know, like if you find that particular asset, like a car, on the books like that, and it's that kind of car.
Yeah,
It's not like a truck.
right.
It's a Lamborghini or something like that. Would you go down that rabbit hole to find out more about the car? But I guess if they're saying that it's not coming with the deal, you might let it go right there.
Right.
You might want to, but if it's
That's
coming
how he
with
got rid
the
of
deal,
me. Yeah, it's
yeah, right, yeah,
like, okay, you sure this is not needed? You need the
yeah.
you need the
I
Porsche
guess it'd be.
to evade the police, or
I guess right. I guess it'd be another thing if they were going to come with the deal. Like that's interesting. So now we have to know like, where did this car come from?
yeah. And then,
For all of these
well,
cars.
these are very expensive cars, and you got to get them
Yeah,
validated. Do they run? Or they?
yeah.
Some of them were in the parking lot. It was kind of funny. Um,
Of the business.
yeah,
Wow, I've never seen a supercar parked out front of a check cashing.
it was
Establishment.
it was a little bit odd. The whole thing was
Where
odd.
was this? This in the Northeast.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll say it was up in New York.
I was gonna say. I know it's got to be New York.
It was New
I
York.
mean, I'm from Jersey, but it's like those cars are a little more rare in
Hmm.
Jersey. I think New York is probably where this is gonna land.
Oh yeah,
Wow. So did that deal go through
yeah. It did.
or what?
It went through.
Did it really?
It did.
Did who was it to? Like who was the buyer? Was it like
It was a
a private equity firm?
PE firm. So they did
PE?
restructure the deal. I think it was going to be a stock deal, and then they changed it to an asset deal, if I remember correct.
Oh, but they didn't get to include the cars as
No,
assets,
no,
huh?
no. The cars were off. I'm sure they were
Yeah,
licking their chops on that one.
I'm
Um,
sure. Did they know that there were cars on there?
oh yeah, no. It's all in the
Oh,
report. We
wow.
back in the day, we used to write like very detailed reports, 60 to 100 pages,
Oh, wow.
and it was
Yeah.
very intense. Now everything's more summarized, focusing on
Uh-huh.
the key deal issues and key risks. But it was really good.
Man, see all of okay. So I think this is uh, this is a great couple examples
Yeah.
of why it's so critical to do the Q of E, the
Hmm.
quality of earnings, and the due diligence,
Hmm.
and really diving into things and researching what you're buying, or if you're in between like yourself, it's like you double check and
Yeah.
then triple check what is actually going to get bought by your
If
client.
if you engage, I'm a big fan of like you get what you pay for. Like
Yeah,
a lot of I'm hearing and seeing a lot of like these due diligence light report LITE,
yeah,
and would never have caught that. What it
right.
is written it up as an explanation, and it could save you a lot of heartache.
You know, in my interview series, that was something else that was recurring. Was that this year in particular, 2025, due diligence processes are taking longer than they have in the past, mostly because of just double checking things on financials. But no one's really yet mentioned stuff like this, and I think it's a great point though, and I think for buyers in particular, I think that's actually a really good insight to know that due diligence is taking longer and to not get upset about it or try to be impatient. I
Yeah,
know, like you don't want to buy it, you want to make it quick, but you want to avoid these. These are serious landmines.
they really
If they
are.
weren't handled appropriately or whatever,
I mean,
it could really sink you later on.
remember,
So
the next day after acquisition, you open up the shop, and all of a sudden you find all these crazy things all over the place, right?
these aren't even skeletons in the
These are
their
not.
bodies.
These are fossils. These are
These,
woolly
no, these are
mammoths.
fresh. Yeah, like I mean, you got a sales force of
I
questionable ladies, and then you've got supercars on the
I
books.
got
It's
a
like, man,
I got a kind of a good feel good. It's not feel good, but This is a quick one.
Okay.
Uh, it was a engagement diligence. It was a publicly traded company that's selling a big asset it had, and we couldn't find any of us who had experience. So we just went out there, and it was a mining company. And
Okay.
we get out there to Reno, Nevada, and we go to the accounting CPA group, and we're digging in and we're talking, and it's a gold mine. And
Was this an external CPA firm, or was this their
they're
CPA or
CPA firms. Sorry, yeah.
their
So we're looking at the
okay.
audit report, audit financials, just to dig into it as a starting point of what we do, and so we get familiar with it. And then the the purchaser also brings in like these speculators, gold speculators
Okay.
into Reno, and we all had dinner and we're listening to them. And it's just, I forgot the price of gold back then. It was maybe 1,000 an ounce, and they're talking about it going to 2,000. And I'm like, yeah, right. Uh, this is me,
Yeah.
conservative CPA. I don't know
Yeah.
anything. And they did acquire it, and I was nominated to go to the gold mine. And by the way, they don't have like addresses on gold mines, so they said
Yeah.
to drive 30 miles east,
Yep.
and you see a sign, and I'm like, okay. And I got up there, and there it was. It was a gold mine, and they were spraying. They took me on a tour. It was a day tour in a truck, and they're spraying cyanide all over the place. I mean, it was literally misting the cars because the cyanide would react with the gold ore, and it loosens the gold ore from other minerals, and it flows down these
Okay.
pipes and these tubes, and they're caught. And anyway,
Hmm.
that went
Okay.
well as planned, but and of course for those guys, good for them. Gold went way up.
Yeah. Huh.
Not as fun.
Interesting. No, well, but that's at least there wasn't anything, uh, at least openly,
Right,
shady about it.
right. There was not. There was. Oh, is it was. And then another part of it was is you just never knew is what was the reserve. I mean,
Was this?
what's below
Did
ground?
Do you remember? That's an interesting question. Do you remember the time it took for gold to double around then? Was it relatively short time? Like from the time you were checking out that gold mine to when it did actually double, was it like a few months? Or I don't really track gold, but
No,
do you remember?
that is a really good question because I talked to my team, and a lot of the guys were like, "Yeah, I bought it gold ETF yesterday." I'm like, "What?" And it
Right.
was like 6 months to the year. It really went up. It went up maybe 20,
Yeah.
30%.
Yeah. I'm not entirely surprised. I've never really tracked gold. I mean, I trade in the markets, but I've
Yeah,
never really paid too much attention to gold. So I'm like, I wonder what time period this was, and
yeah. I
I'm kind of
can. I'll shoot you a note. I'll
wow.
go back and look. I can't forgot what it
That's
was, but it
no,
was a fun time.
that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I mean, yeah, great for them. Like you said, that's fabulous, and hopefully they everybody involved was able to reap that benefit. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, again, I think these are great stories. I think really the most valuable takeaway for me, and I'm hoping that those watching it take the same piece away from this, is that that the auditing, the QV, the due diligence, let it play out. Even if
Right.
it takes long, you especially with the buyer, you're going to take on the risk. Sellers, don't hide things.
Well,
That's the
I
advice
think
I would give. It's like, and if you are, get rid of it before you go to sell the company.
you
I
know
think that'd probably be nice.
another thing too is like don't be afraid to do your job and ask questions.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to touch on that too. It's good that you drill down on some of these things and try to
I mean,
work past the resistance from the
I
seller. Like, look, we need to know what it
the
is. Like,
first
come on, let's.
story, it was very uncomfortable. The
Yeah,
next couple of days after that, we still had to stay in the field. We had to come out the
I'm sure.
following week, so we had to
Yep.
see this gentleman again too. It's just weird.
Yeah, but see, this is why this is kind of the idea of the behind the deal series. Like I was saying
Mm-hmm.
before we jumped on, it's like these are the things that happen
Mm-hmm.
in deal making, and they're very rarely actually talked about. They're things that probably you don't want talk too much about. But I mean, and on that point, I appreciate you being as candid as you are, and I hope that this is useful for the people that
Yeah.
are watching, and give them a couple nuggets, even if they're not in the industry. These are some of the things that go on, and these are some of the reasons why things
Mm-hmm.
take time and what the process is. And then for those that are in industry, it's like, look, you're not alone. Some of these crazy stories happen. I'm sure there's crazier ones out there too.
Whoever like sees this and they want to talk more, happy to share more stories. I got more, but those are the fun ones, I guess. And
Yeah.
I'd love to sit around and talk about them. And you know, that's what makes what we do fun. It's the war
I think
stories. It really is.
I agree. I agree. Dan, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the stories, the cautionary tales, and that last one is great to leave on a high
Mm-hmm.
note. For those watching, again, I hope you found this useful. And to find more stories like this, you can find me on YouTube or my LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dan.
All right, thank you.